What's up, guys, and welcome to an all-new episode of the King's Corner, where this week we're talking about The Flash and the Pope's Exorcist, which was actually released alongside Renfield and back in April. And believe it or not, that's the day before my son was born. So we were starting to go to the drive-in movie, and we were able to see Renfield. Renfield was actually the first drive-in movie I saw in about 15 years at the drive-in movie. It's been a very long time, so we've been going to those now. It's easier to go with the newborn, but yeah, Pope's Exorcist is just one of those films we weren't able to catch in theaters. Finally, it's out on Blu-ray. Watched it. You got a review coming. But first, we're going to talk about The Flash. This movie has had a very rocky ride leading to its theatrical release, with delays, screenplay changes, so many things and stories you've heard about the behind the scenes of this movie in the past few years, especially Ezra Miller's behavior and stories revolving around them, I suppose. So, look, let's not talk about any of that. Let's talk about The Flash, and just talk about the movie and nothing else. This is a film. When I go to see a movie, I want to escape and I want to be transported into that world. And I think The Flash absolutely does that. This is an extremely immersive movie, and it's one of DC's best films, the DCEU's best films. This movie is so quickly paced. The pacing is almost as fast as the Flash himself, and the actors, everybody is just doing a really good job with their characters. Ezra Miller is excellent as Barry Allen. If you've seen the trailers, I'm not going to give away really spoilers in this video, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you've seen the trailers, you'll know the story. Loosely, there's two Barrys in the film, so Miller has to play two versions of the character, and I think he did it very well. Some people said that the younger version of Barry Allen is more annoying. I personally didn't think so. I found him very likable, and the older version kind of maybe a little too serious at times. But I think they balance each other out pretty well in the story of this is the sort of flashpoint story. So the plot, I mean, how can I explain the plot without really spoiling anything? I guess I can't. There's an event that takes place where Barry wants to change the outcome, so he messes with the Speed Force and time a little bit, and things get a little wonky. So he's got to save the day, and who does he get to come along the ride with him? Michael Keaton as Batman, where this Barry Allen ends up, this sort of topsy-turvy world he ends up in. This version of Bruce Wayne is Michael Keaton, and he steals the movie for me, and I think for a lot of other people. The Michael Keaton Batman movies aren't my favorite Batman films. Michael Keaton's not my favorite Batman, but I do love the interpretation. I do really enjoy those movies. And here, this might be his best outing as the character. When he's in that suit, it is so nostalgic. It feels right. It looks right. His physicality is there. The wonderful score in this film. That's a lot of the original pieces you have in the movie, but then you have prominently used is the Danny Elfman Batman theme, which I was really happy about. I think a lot of the time, when movies bring back older characters, they won't use their original music, and I think this film understood, uh, you know, to do that. Why rescore the character? He's already has an identity, he has a music identity already. So I really appreciated that. You have Michael Shannon returning as Zod in this, and if you want to see a lot of Zod, you're going to be disappointed. But then again, this is not Zod's story. If you want to see Zod fleshed out, go watch Man of Steel. If you want to see more of the events that are talked about in this film, go see Man of Steel. Uh, this film is very much based on character. There's a Barry Allen story. You have Bruce Wayne is the ultimate supporting character, and you have Sasha Cale, I believe is the actress's name. She's playing Supergirl, and a lot of people are pretty hot off this performance. For me, I think she played it really stone cold serious. There wasn't really any. I don't know. There was not really much life coming out of her. She felt very serious and she felt very one note a lot of the time. So she was one of the weakest performances in the movie. I don't think she was bad. I just think everybody else was better. I mean, Michael Shannon really doesn't have a lot to do either, but he's certainly slipping back into the shoes of Zod very very well. The direction I think is great. The cinematography, the only negatives I have with this movie is that the story and like the way things sort of kick off, if you will, are pretty. I mean, it reminded me of like Sonic the Hedgehog, where in the beginning of that movie he starts running real fast and something happens. This is kind of similar in a sense. So I felt like okay, it was kind of easy how to slip into all this, but we do. And it's extremely fun and entertaining, so it didn't really bother me as much. Also, the third act of the film, if you thought a film like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had a messy ending, this movie, I mean, I don't know if I would say messy, but I would say extremely chaotic. If you felt like the ending of that was chaotic, you're going to feel like the ending of this was chaotic. And not just from what's happening story-wise, but what's happening with the visuals as well. The visual effects in this movie are really not good. Some of the effects are good. Maybe 20% of the effects are good. 80% of the effects in this movie are not. And a majority of that is in the third act of this film, which does not look good at all. The final action scene of the movie, I was thinking at certain times this doesn't look real, and it's losing some of that immersion because it just looks like I'm looking at something computer generated and fake. So that took me out of it a little bit. But other than that, an extremely fun movie, extremely entertaining movie. Is it deep? Is it emotionally deep? There's some things in the film that certainly try to get emotionally deep, which I appreciated. Wasn't too invested into it, but I appreciated it. I liked the emotional hook the movie had, so that was good. And look, if you're a comic book fan, DC fan, there are certain people and cameos that you see in this film that are going to make you wetter than a washcloth. So just prepare for that. And some of that has to do with some of the really bonkers and wacky CGI. So just prepare for all that. But in the end of the day, The Flash, is it like a great movie? No, because like I said, at times it feels fake when you're looking at it. But, the actors, Michael Keaton, Ezra Miller, they are giving it their all. The direction was good, the humor was good, and overall the movie really worked for me. And I will rewatch this. Like I said, it's one of my favorite DC EU films. It's like top 3 for sure. It might be Man of Steel for me, and then maybe Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then this. I mean, that's the top 3. This is an extremely solid 4 out of 5 star film for me. So look, if you had any stipulations going into this, I think when you watch the movie, it will give you that extreme escapism. And you could escape reality. You could escape real life. And I think that's what a film is supposed to do. It's supposed to entrance you and immerse you into that world. And I think this movie does so. And it's a lot to do with the performances. I did really enjoy this movie. So I'm very curious to think what you guys think. Leave that down in the comments section. And look, I think you'll enjoy it. This movie had a long ride to get to it. We got here, and it turned out a lot better than it could have. So is this like one of the best comic book movies ever made that some people may have said? Absolutely not. But it certainly is a good summer movie, and I recommend it. And finally, we're talking about The Pope's Exorcist. This was just released to Blu-ray on Tuesday, and we're talking about it today. Look, this is a movie that was released, like I said, the day before my son was born. And, we didn't get to see a movie in like a week or two after he was born. We went to the drive-in, and they were playing Renfield and Super Mario. So we already seen Mario. I already did a review for it. So obviously it was going to be Renfield. We weren't ready to return to the theater yet. Believe it or not, the first movie we saw when we returned to the theater was Evil Dead Rise, which I have reviews for all these movies up on the channel in the King's Corner playlist. Check them out. So finally, Pope's Exorcist comes to Blu-ray. And keep in mind, a lot of these other movies that I didn't do reviews for that were released in theaters, smaller type movies like the Big George Foreman, The Polite Society, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, films like that, Sisu. I'm going to be getting them as they come out and doing reviews for them once they're released to physical media. I could rent them, but I'd like to own them physically. Even if I don't love the movie, I still want to get it and watch it on Blu-ray. I don't want to buy it physically or rent it physically. So that's the plan. So the Pope's Exorcist. Look, I'm just going to read the synopsis. Inspired by the actual files of Father Gabriel Amorth, the chief exorcist of the Vatican, the Pope's Exorcist follows Amorth as he investigates a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries-old conspiracy that the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden. Uh, Look, I don't think this movie's that great. Personally, I watched it, and the first like half hour is really good. That setup, but once the movie kind of concludes, you get the second act, and then it concludes in the third act. I felt like it was very cliched, very by the numbers. This reminded me of, if you've ever seen The Right, which is a film with Anthony Hopkins that came out in 2011. This reminded me a lot of that, specifically some things that happen in the third act. Russell Crowe is very good in the movie, just like Anthony Hopkins was very good in the movie, in that movie. So look, take Russell Crowe's great performance aside. I think the cinematography is really good. I think the direction is really good. And I think the first act of the movie is really good. I think you had a stronger idea. Let's do a movie about this, guy, this exorcist. But it really starts to fall apart by the end. I mean, the second act is pretty boring. You get it felt like a 10-minute scene of exposition where they're down in the catacombs discovering things, and it's just like 10 minutes of exposition. And that's what it felt like to me. Maybe it wasn't 10 minutes, but it dragged. The second act of this film dragged. And by the third act, things happen and you go, okay, well, this is uninteresting. This is unlike this. I've seen this before. I've seen it before. And by the time it ends, you just go, well, I've seen a lot of that before, and there's really nothing special about this movie. Is it like watchable? Yeah, I think it's watchable. You might have to kind of fast forward or skip through the second half of the movie, or maybe I don't know. I mean, I just it barely held my interest, until the end, which it's like I said, it's watchable, but it's like, okay, I've seen this before. It's just like I'm just looking at something to be entertained by at this point. It did nothing for the movie. The movie didn't do anything for me. It's not a very good movie. I didn't really like it. And look, I own it now. But like I said, a lot of these new films coming out, going to be picking them up. So instead of paying for that movie ticket, I'm paying to own it. I don't want to rent it digitally. I just don't want to do that. So, I'm a physical media collector, so I will be picking up these movies on physical media. But yeah, Pope's Exorcist didn't really do it for me. Nothing special about this movie. And yeah, it's going to be very forgettable. And yeah, that's really it. I don't really have much more to say about it other than it's not great and I don't recommend it. But if you see it, you're going to get a good Russell Crowe performance. It's nice to look at cinematography wise. The direction's pretty good, but other than that, not great. And the secret, this Vatican secret, it just didn't feel real to me. If this is supposed to be based off true events, I just don't buy it. I just thought it was a bunch of horse shit. I mean, I didn't buy what they were selling. So yeah, didn't work for me. Not a fan, and I'm gonna give it two out of five. I was gonna say 2.5, but I don't even think so. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 stars. Didn't really care for it. And I'll probably never watch it again. So that might go into the pile to be sold, to be honest with you. So that's where I'm at with the Pope's Exorcist. And look, little physical media roundup for the week, including Pope's Exorcist, which is the first title, released past Tuesday. We have John Wick Chapter 4 releasing this past Tuesday. This is a fantastic movie, and it's also the best John Wick movie, and it's probably the best 4K disc of the year. The picture to this is, the 4K quality to this is something special, and I think it's taken from the native 4K, and it looks incredible. The sound is great, the picture is great. It's just an incredible disc, and the steelbook as well. I mean, this is a great Donnie Yen in the back. It's just a great movie, great steelbook, and Lionsgate really knocked it out of the park with this. So, guys, that's been it for me. What'd you think about these movies? Comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future videos of The King's Corner. Look, Pixar's Elemental, that also released today, so we'll be seeing that soon. That's going to be in one of the next episodes of King's Corner, and also the big one, that's going to be reviewed as soon as it comes out. Can't wait. Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. Look, premiere happened, California, worldwide premiere. Some reviews, reactions are coming out. They're saying it's good. Some people aren't saying it's great, but they're saying it's good. They're saying it's fun, and that's all I could hope for. So I can't wait. I'm very excited about that, guys. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at RyanKing72 and Instagram and TikTok at KingRises131. That's been it for me. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of The King's Corner. And until next time, over and out.